Hi everybody, this is MaDonna from Mad Bees Quilt and Sew, and I just want to really hope that you had a very nice Memorial Day last week and you paid respect to somebody who's in the military. We are back joining you again today because we're on our third week, I think, so far of this. And so today I'm going to start sewing, and I want you to start sewing. I actually want you to get your strip sets done this next week. And before we do that, though, I'm going to have Deanna swing around back here, and we're going to work on our 1/4 inch. And I'm going to show you some tools and some tricks to helpfully help you get a little bit straighter with your 1/4 inch. So come on around to the back side, Deanna. Perfect. It'll switch here in a second. Okay, so I've got a few tools out on my table today, and some of them are very basic, okay? So the first thing I have is a ruler. And the ruler has a really nice 1/4 inch mark on it. So I'm going to just put that up to right where my needle is. And I'm going to check to see if that's exactly where my 1/4 inch foot is. And if I take that needle right down in front of it there, you can see that my 1/4 inch leaves a little bit of that foot still hanging out. So this 1/4 inch foot is a little bit heavier from my needle position than a 1/4 inch. When I sew using this machine inside there, so that way I know that I'm at my 1/4 inch. Okay, so that's how I use that. So this 1/4 inch foot has some great markings on it. It has a 1/4 inch before the needle, right at the needle, and then a 1/4 inch behind it. And it is marked on both sides of the foot, which is super excellent, so that way when I'm getting to a corner, I know that I've got a 1/4 inch more to go and I can stop and pivot. Or if I've gone past it and I need to turn for some reason, I know that I can do that. So it's got both of those markings on that. A couple of tools that are out there are wonderful. This one here is called the Perfect Piecing Seam Guide. And it actually has a hole in it so that your needle can go right into it. Let me put my foot up first. Okay, get my needle up, put my foot up. I can actually put this on here, and I'm going to turn it this way, and lower my needle directly into that hole. There, I'm right in the hole on there, okay? I can put my foot down, and it's going to hold it in place. And now I can put their seam edge product, okay? This seam edge product is little strips of raised stickiness. They're not sticky on the top, they're kind of like a silicone, and you can put it right next to this so that way you can make sure that your 1/4 inch is exactly right. Isn't that pretty cool? So this stuff sticks right up next to it. Let me show you a piece of it. You can cut these strips shorter if you'd prefer them to be shorter, so it just peels off of here. I make it sound so easy. It just peels off of here. It does. And then you can stick it right next to this. And that way you have a raised edge that things will sit up against. So see, this will actually sit right up to it, so it won't cross over it. So it's actually got a little bit of a lip on it. Love this stuff. The other thing that's nice about it, I can cut it shorter if I'm just using a smaller bed. I can make it longer, whatever I need. I can pick it up. Come on, pick up. It peels off, no sticky residue. I can stick it here until I need it again, but I can also turn it the other direction and put it on the other side. So if you're left-handed or if you're going the other direction, you can easily pick it up and put it back down again, and you're ready to go the other way. Really like that. Just recently, a new product came on the market that I'm thrilled with. A little bit trickier to get used to using, but let me show it to you.
We have a question on how long will the purple strips last once they're placed or moved a few times?
Oh, I've probably used the set that I have 20 or 30 times. It's really sticky, but it leaves no residue on your machine. It really has a good stick. Now, I only stick it to here and I stick it to there. That's pretty much it. If it hits fabric, you're going to lose the stickiness faster. But because there's no lint underneath it, because it's making a solid contact, it works great. Okay. Awesome. So then the other product that's out there is a newer product called Diagonal Seam Tape. I'm not sure why diagonal, but it works. It comes in a roll. It runs $8 for a roll of it, and it has 1/4 inch markings on either side. So There's the tape, and it's got a solid red line and then 1/4 of an inch and 1/4 of an inch. So the easiest way to use this is to go right up to the front here and line it up. So I can put it right on, all the way up. Let me get it in there, and then I'll show you. I'll back my hand out. Okay, maybe. There we go. This sewing machine tray table actually has a 0 mark on it right here, so I'm able to line it right up on that 0. Here, let me, if I pull that up, see that 0 there? So I put the red right on top of that 0 so it's covered. So right up to that, I would not cover the black, I would come right up next to it is going to be your 1/4 of an inch. The nice thing about this is it's repositionable once, okay? You might be able to get it twice, but this is how I use it. I put it on, and you can see I went right up to my feed dogs with it, okay? And right onto my 0. I give myself about an inch. I turn it up and underneath. Okay, so now it's become part of my table. I carefully pick this up, and I do the same thing. I wrap it into the table. Now there's no edges that are going to get caught. When this is on here, it gives me a great 1/4 of an inch guide to follow in. Really nice. Now, I have to do it, okay, because I can see it, but it's also just slightly slick. So when you're feeding it underneath there, it just glides through. It's not like it drags it at all. And I can just sew right up next to that. So I'm watching here until I get up to here. I don't really look at my needle at all. My needle doesn't do anything for me, and most of the time we overcorrect when we do that. So you can see I've got a really nice 1/4 of an inch on there without it being all crazy. So those are a couple of the tricks. I have seen people use Post-it notes as a stack of those. There is the 1/4 inch foot that has the guide on it. The bummer is that I can't see if it's actually rolling my fabric a little bit. So your fabric can go in next to it, and see how that just lifted up against my finger there? I can't tell if it's doing that. So then it's going to sew a little bit heavier of a 1/4 of an inch. So this, to me, I like having just the smooth sided. When I sit at my sewing machine, I don't sit totally nose in. I sit off to the right just a hair so that way I can see it on that line. Those are the things that help me stay at a better 1/4 of an inch. Now, when starting my sections to sew, I like to start with what we call a starter or a cheater or whatever you like, okay? I'm going to start sewing on that, and it doesn't matter how straight I am on it. I'm on my little cheater piece, and I'm going to go past it. And I can go a full 1/4 of an inch because I know where that's at on that foot, okay? Now, that gave me those twists that I like. So then I'm going to grab my strips that I'm sewing today, and I'm going to put them together. On this project, when you do it, line up all your printed selvages together. Okay, so on this project, we're going to line up our printed selvages. So by that I mean anything that has words on it, line those up together. And we're going to sew our 1/4 of an inch seam. Okay, I gave myself some starter. I pick up my foot. I'm watching my black line there. I can see that I can see the whole line, and I start to sew. I am not a huge pinner, but that is your decision. I am not correcting at the needle. I'm correcting way out here, so that way it's being fed into the needle straight. I am not the fastest sewer. I just like consistent speed. My other hand is barely touching that. It is not doing this. Okay, when I do this, I'm skipping stitches and I'm pulling it through too fast. I need to let the machine do its work. So this hand's barely touching over here, and I truly could sew without that hand. It's a little bit hard because I really want to do something. Maybe I'll just hold it down here. But you can see the machine sews pretty gosh darn straight without me doing anything. Oh, I got a little chaw mark on my cutting there today. The biggest thing is consistency. The other thing that I have been seeing a lot of is people squaring up. And it is kind of one of my pet peeves, because if you cut right and you sewed right, there shouldn't be anything for you to square up. Yes.
Are there any patterns that have you square up though, like
Yes.
specifically?
Yes.
But
Okay,
they'll tell you
so
that?
they do tell you that. Quilters Select. No, sorry. This old age thing is getting to me today. So Kind of Wonderful.
Oh, okay.
All of their patterns are squared up because they overproduce so that you can bring it back down. You can always do a scant 1/4 of an inch and then cut to the block size, but they have to tell you what the block size is. If they don't tell you what the block size is, you need to be sewing correctly to be able to do that. The more that you trim off of your correct size block, the more incorrect it's going to be, because you cut it right and you sewed it right. You remember doing both of those things, so there shouldn't be anything for you to square up. Okay? Otherwise, one of those things you're not doing right. Either you're not sewing or you're not cutting correctly. Okay, so I'm off the end. I gave myself some extra stitches. Oh, I'm going to grab my little cheater piece from up front here, snip it off. Maybe, if I can grab those scissors. Snip this off, put it at the end here, give myself a little starter piece so that way I'm ready to go for the next block. Okay, remember what I told you before is that when we trim this, leave yourself an end. At least a 1/4 of an inch, because you can see how nice and twisted those are together. That's awesome. It's not going to allow this to pull apart, which is what we want. The more that pulls apart, the worse it becomes. See how nice that's got just a little twist on there. That one's a little bit short. I should have stayed a little bit longer, but that way it's not going to open up on us. I can pull on that and see how little that opens up. Many of us have had where it's open. I mean, it's not connected any longer. Now, a quick little check here is I can take my ruler and my 1/4 of an inch and put it right on there, and I can see that that fits right on there. Let's grab this ruler, I'll probably be able to see better. So see how that's sitting right on there, and I have no extra fabric on the other side. So my stitch is really good. You think I've practiced this 3 times? Okay, so there's my stitch. I don't have a lot of extra fabric over here. I've got some threads. I'm going to check it there. Let me go out here and check it. Put it on there. Okay, right here, I might be a hair short of a 1/4 of an inch. So I'm at that scant 1/4 of an inch. But you can see the one fabric is right there. The other one's just off by a little teeny tiny bit. Let's move down here and see where we're at. So I'm not as perfect as I preach, okay? And I'm right at a 1/4 of an inch there. That makes me really happy, okay? Because that's what I want to be. And if you look at this, don't you think that that looks narrower than a 1/4 of an inch? But when I put that ruler right on there, it's measuring right at that 1/4 of an inch. That's a good thing. That's what we're trying to aim for. Now, in your instructions this week, it actually has you pressing in 2 different directions. So I think it's the easiest to just sew all of one colorway. So I've got them divided on my table. Come on over here, Deanna. So these were my 2 sets of fabric, okay? They go from light to dark. Well, they go from whatever, color to color, okay? And I picked an order that was pleasing to me. Doesn't matter what you like, okay? Pick out what you want. And then I'm going to sew them just one to another in this whole set. This whole set gets pressed in one direction. This whole set gets sewn together and then pressed in the opposite direction. So if I'm going to press all of these in this group to the green one, all of these are going to go to the green spots. All of them are going to go up. All of these are going to go down. However you need to word that. But you need to press these 2 strip sets in opposite directions. Why do we not press them open? Because this is a baby quilt, or that's what we're considering it as, a baby quilt. The strength of a seam is much stronger when you actually press to one direction. When you press open, you have threads that are pulling apart from each other. When I press to one direction, they lock and they're only going to pull that way. It's got a lot more fabric for it to be able to pull through. When it's going this way, it's just tugging against itself. When it's coming this way, it's pulling over to itself. So it just is a stronger seam when we do it this way. That's why jeans are made that way. Most garments are made that way. If we needed to reinforce it, we'd be putting another seam next to it, but we wouldn't ever press open a pair of jeans open because they would just come apart way too easily. So, okay, let's regroup here. We need to make 2 strip sets for next week. 1 pressed to the green, 1 pressed to the dots, so opposite directions, okay? I want all of them sewn together, and I want you to work conscientiously on your 1/4 inch. I want you to watch the 1/4 inch, not watch the needle. If you watch the needle, you're going to overcorrect. It's kind of like driving your car. If you watch the lines in front of you, it's easy to make a mistake. If you watch the truck in front of you, it's easy to follow him around the curve. Anything else?
Well, I have a question on when I'm picking out which order to put the colors in.
Correct.
When you have a rainbow set of colors like this, does it make the most sense to keep the greens together, the blues together, and all that for the Bargello effect, or does it truly not matter?
No, for this one, it truly doesn't matter, okay? You could put any order that you wanted. They actually had the green, this was reversed before, okay? So it did go from green to green, but then Kate grabbed it and she put it together, and the gray and the blues were at the end. Okay, because the yellow into the green made sense to me, but to her it made sense. So it really is your discretion of where you want them to be. When we look at the whole quilt, so let me grab the quilt here. Okay, when you look at this, you can see how the green comes through here, and that's my favorite color. So I put it towards the center of the quilt. Okay, if your favorite color is the purple, you may want to move that up or down.
Gotcha.
And that will be something that we work on the next time that we actually get together.
Cool.
Okay, because it's actually 1 strip from one set, 1 strip from the next strip, 1 strip from one set, 1 strip from the next set. That's how this Bargello is done.
Gotcha. We did have somebody ask where we get the baby Bargello pattern. We still have it in stock?
Oh, we do have it in stock.
Okay.
They run $2.70, I think they are.
Oof.
Yes, okay, so the pattern's inexpensive. It's a carded pattern, and I'm 99% sure we have it in stock.
Cool.
Okay?
All right.
And it's a fun one. And the nice thing is, once you know this technique, it's easy to make it bigger. They call it baby Bargello, but there's no reason it has to be baby looking. If you did this with dark batiks, it could be gorgeous. You know, and it's really a nice size throw. You know.
Back up. There we go. Oh yeah, that's a nice size.
Now I will show you on the back here, I use some of the extra pieces and then just a fun print. This quilt pattern finishes at 42 by 48. Ugh. Okay, because fabric is only 44 inches wide. I wanted to long arm quilt this, so I needed more than just the 2 extra inches. So that's why I put the fun centerpiece that was just the leftover fabrics. And it was just a fun thing to do. Just fun.
It looks great together.
Yeah, I like playing like that. Okay, I will see everybody next week on Monday. Oh, am I out of town next Monday? Maybe. We'll have to figure that out. But get your strip sets sewn, and then we'll start cutting them, and we'll talk a little bit more about cutting them and re-putting them back together. This is a quick project, so it's not going to take us weeks upon weeks. Everybody have a great week. Don't forget to join us tomorrow evening for Comment Sold. Tea Party is Wednesday. It's a fun summer project this time, so get your name in so that you can do that with us. Have a great day, and we'll see you next week.